Hey there, it is Tom Sawyer here on the behalf of Indie Structure Productions once again, with the final episode of the Scum Build video series. So, as you can see, I am no longer in the Crimson Guitarist workshop. I have now traversed back to Finland to finish this beast off and hand it over to the client. So first things first, it's time to treat that fretboard with some Crimson Guitarist Fretboard Restorative, just to kind of bring some life into it. Basically, you want to do this to fretboards, just add some sort of oil, be it lemon oil is a very common thing to use, or other types of oils work just as well, to bring moisture into that fretboard so it doesn't crack and it lasts for longer and it feels a lot better and also looks a lot nicer. So, and yes, it protects the fretboard as well quite a bit. So a very important step to do. So I'm just lathering it on. I'll do a good few layers. So put some on and then wipe away the excess and kind of rub it down. So in this final episode, I now have the pickups that I didn't have in the previous episode, and that's pretty much the last thing to do. So it's installing the pickups and then doing all the electricery sort of stuff, which didn't used to be one of my, well, it used to be the part that I hated doing the most, but nowadays I've kind of grown to like wiring and stuff like that. But yeah, just making sure that I don't get any of the oil on the body, because the body's been oiled and waxed and stuff. It doesn't need any more. And then just using some basic kitchen towel to rub it all down. Take away all the excess oil. And now it's time for installation. So I am mounting these pickups in a... Lost my train of thought there. So these are direct mounted pickups. So basically all you need to do is kind of drill holes for where your pickup screws are going to be, and then screw them in. Making sure, usually you can put some sort of foam underneath the pickups so that they don't jostle around all that much. A little bit more stable that way. Putting the wire through. Then I mean, if you can keep track of these things, it's good, but I never can. So I decided to mark out with some tape. I'm going to mark out what my neck pickup is, just to keep track of it a bit better. Here you'll see just drilling small 2 ball holes. Just drilling the holes for the pickup screws.
thing to keep in mind is how high up your pickups are going to be. So try and screw screws in as far as you think is necessary. So that'll leave you with a little bit of wiggle room to actually make adjustments. Making sure everything's in place and screwing it in. Then moving on to all the prep work for wiring. So first things first, I bunch up the wires that are going to be connected to one another, and I use some heat shrink just to make everything a lot more tidy and looking a lot nicer, so there's not a million wires all over the place. Right, with all the heat shrink done, it's time to solder all the tips of the wires. This is something that I didn't realize early on. When I first started building guitars and stuff or doing repairs, I always had issues with soldering everything in place because nothing would ever stick. And then I learned during my first work practice at Crimson Guitars, I learned that you should always solder the tips of your wires to make all the connections so much faster, so much easier, and a lot more stable. Of course, a bit of a faff when you only got but 2 hands to do this with. It's also very awkward because I'm not used to a gas-powered soldering iron, so it's kind of awkward to use it. You kind of need to have a different sort of method to its use. And it's just a matter of connecting all the wires to where they're supposed to go. Very poor camera angle to kind of show all the electronics, but I'm actually thinking that I should film a video on how to do this properly and with proper close-ups, good camera angles, so you can actually see what I'm doing. This guitar is getting a split pot, so I'll be able to split the coils. So it's a push-pull knob, basically, or push-pull pot. There we go. That's the right word. And the pickups, I never actually mentioned, but the pickups in the neck, the guitar has a Seymour Duncan Sentient, and in the bridge position, the guitar has a Seymour Duncan Nazgul. So, very metal guitar. There we are, making sure the connection's good by kind of giving it a slight tug. It ain't moving, so that means it's good. Checking the connections again. Nothing's moving out of place, everything seems good. And then I left the pots, or I unscrewed the pots just in case I needed to move them around a bit, make my life during the wiring a bit easier. So now I just need to use a socket wrench to screw the washers back on. And make sure that the pot doesn't move as I'm doing so. So I'm just gonna kind of hold onto the pot as I tighten it. Then to check that all the electronics work, I have this very handy Axsmith headphone amp, which is really, really good. I used to use it as a practice amp because I've always lived in apartment buildings, so I can't really have a proper amp if I want to practice late at night or early in the morning or something like that. So this is definitely a very handy way of practicing, but definitely a very handy way of checking that the electronics work because it's so fast and easy. Going through every option, every position, and every string. Coil split and not split, making sure the splits work as well. Just being very thorough before I put the back plate on. One of the things that you should never do, never put the back plate on prematurely, because that is, oddly enough, that is some sort of curse. Put the back plate on before you've checked that the electronics work, and then they don't work. And then you have to take the back plate off and try and figure out the issue is. It's just much easier. Only put the back plate on once everything is done. Electronics work completely. Good rule and mentality to have. There we go. Everything seemed to work great. So that only leaves me with putting in the knobs. And these knobs have a little screw, and I'm basically trying to aim it so that the screw points downward from the player so that you don't see them, but also so that the screw goes in between that little split that you see on the pot, which means that it'll give it a much better hold. But hey, the episode is starting to run out, so with one final word from myself, here we go.
Alright, it's delivery day. I'm delivering the scum to the client. Let's see what he thinks.
Alright, so we did film the client's reaction and everything, and that was all well and good. He was really happy at how it turned out and to finally kind of see it, because he had asked for a complete blackout after the initial stain. So from the very first layer of stain up until the finished guitar, he hadn't seen any pictures or anything like that. So it was really cool for him to see what the guitar actually looked like, and then finally see it finished up close and personal. So we did film the reaction, but now decided to leave it out of the video. And so yeah, but yeah, that was my final project after leaving England, or my final project in England, and then moved on to doing my own thing over here. And well, you kind of know the rest. There's going to be more build videos coming up, and I'm super excited about all the things that are actually coming up, which I keep on saying over and over and over again, and I realize I'm blabbering on to basically an empty screen. So, without further ado, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you next week, even though I won't see you, but you know what I mean. Come back next week for a new video, and yeah, subscribe to see more, hit that like button, smash the little bell to get notifications whenever I put out a new video, and comment down below on what you thought of the series now that it's over, and what you'd like to see in the future. Alrighty, you guys take care. Bye bye. See you next time.